Welcome back, team. This is part 6 now. In part 6, if you see here, there are two subpart, part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is nothing but understanding. Design VPC using AWS Management Console. I'm not going to demonstrate it, that you are expected to know this, the concept of VPC. Like create VPC from web console, create a public and private subnet, create internet gateway and associate the gateway to VPC, then create a NAT gateway in the public subnet, create a route table, add public route via internet gateway and associate public subnet, create VPC like the name manual VPC, the CIDR block. So these are all manual steps. I'm not going to demonstrate because the manual process, I want you to do this. For sure, I want you to create all the resources manually in this lab, whatever mentioned in this document. Once you create them manually, you will understand the connection between the internet gateway and VPC, NAT gateway and VPC, subnet and NAT gateway. The association or the relationship you will understand. So part 1 is to be executed in the console. I'm skipping part 1, so let's go to the part 2. Part 2 is what we'll understand. We'll create this, design a 3-tier AWS VPC with NAT gateway using Terraform. In this part, we'll understand Terraform modules. Module helps you in creating reusability, structured and a kind of functionality reuse. We'll define input variables for VPC module and reference them in VPC Terraform module. We'll define local values and reference them in VPC Terraform module. We'll create Terraform.tfvars file and load variable value by default from this file. Create VPC auto TFVars file to load variable values by default from this file related to VPC. We define output value. This is all we are going to do in this part. Then VPC module, hard-coded module. How to make a decision of using public registry module. First, we need to understand the registry and modules. We have already discussed that part. We are going to use a VPC module from Terraform Public Registry. Understand about authenticity of a module hosted on a public Terraform registry with HashiCorp-verified tag. Review and download rate for that modules. Then review and latest version release history of that module. Review our features. So let's go one by one, creating VPC module Terraform configuration. For that, we'll be using these 3 files: versions.tf, generic variables.tf and vpc.tf. The version.tf file, the first file, create VPC Terraform module. This is how we create the module in Terraform. Module VPC. Source is Terraform AWS module. This is available on Terraform Registry, VPC AWS, and version is 2.78. The basic detail, what VPC we are going to create using this basic VPC, VPC development CIDR block AZS, that is availability zones where it will be available, private subnet, public subnet, database subnet. So we are creating the subnet, NAT gateway. You can see a lot of resources are commented out right now. Create a public subnet, true. Create database internet subnet, true, but they are commented out. Similarly, NAT gateway, enable, DNS parameters, enable. All these things you will find in this first part. So I'm sharing and I'm executing this now. Let's see that in this file there was nothing. Let's go to the second part. So this is, we have 2 versions here, VPC version 1 VPC module and version 2 VPC module Standardize. I will be demonstrating one, cd v1 VPC module, and here we have these 3 files. Let's understand the files one by one very quickly. cat -n c1. This file has only one change, the provider device. No change, in fact, no change in this file. The generic variables is C2. Let's look at this file C2. cat c2, and here we have generic variable AWS region, which we have understood in the previous part. Type is string, the default value is US East 1. But module is something what is interesting, that is VPC C3. This is the main code we are here for. So cat -n C3, and this is the magical we are going to understand. We are going to use module here. We are creating this module VPC development, the CIDR block, where it will be created, the database subnet, all the resources what you see will be created. So let's initialize Terraform init, Terraform plan, and Terraform dev or apply. Yes. This is the VPC which is created by the Terraform. Just now we are working on this one, and in this VPC you will find the region where it is available. You can see we created it for two regions, East A1A and East 1B, and the root table are also created, and the network connections also created. This is the virtual cloud network we just now VPC virtual private cloud we just now created with Terraform. It's still working. It will create all the root tables and other resources also by the Terraform. Similarly, if you go to the security group, this also created the security group just now by the Terraform. So this is the security group. If you go to the root table, you will find root table also, NAT gateway also. These are NAT gateway for US East 1A. This is being created. So NAT gateway root tables are also created. These are the root tables just now created, private, default, and public, and database. Different root tables are created by our Terraform. In other words, what you are seeing right now, what you are witnessing is the complete resource management as far as virtual private cloud VPC on AWS is concerned. Therefore, the best thing about this is it's such a comprehensive coverage on VPC that if you have any requirement about the VPC, it is covering everything. Everything related to virtual private cloud you can see here being created. 25 resources. Manually, you could have go spend maybe 1 or 2 days in creating that, aligning these resources and setting up the things. Manual process, I'm sure it's going to take a day to create this kind of complex environment. And now I'm just going to destroy it. That's all for this session. Thank you very much.